So a third component that I mentioned is ring control. And again, this is another significant set of skills that is very often not indicated in the written rules and often not taught at all to referees. And it's something that they have to gather through experience. And even after experience, some are better at it than others. I guess if I had to loosely define ring control, it is all the mechanics and processes associated with controlling the ring during a given match. Things that I think of are enforcing the borders, enforcing the proper procedures, and making sure that, for instance, the uniforms are correct, or that the competitors are properly designated, colors so they can be represented for scoring appropriately. They can be the requirement of recreation of positions that have gone out of bounds. They can involve the referee using his body as a shield to protect competitors from the table. They can be handling situations that occur on the edge of the mat with competitors or spectators getting too close to the action and should be removed. It could include the handling of coaches. It certainly includes things like recognizing injuries or the need for medical personnel, or if someone is unconscious, helping to revive them and stopping when they have an inability to submit for themselves. These are all critical skills that are not, again, listed necessarily in written rules, and something that without some kind of formalized training, you could be at a loss. There are also skills, I think, that when referees do not referee frequently, it's something that slips away from their arsenal rather quickly. They may be able to retain the rules or even look at the rules as a refresher, but ring control skills have to come back to you when you're in there, and oftentimes they come back to you when you make mistakes or you're not doing it effectively and you realize, oh wait, I have to be more diligent about these particular skills. And it's also something that's very recognizable from ring to ring, how a referee is controlling the action. And I think it can convey a level of experience and expertise and confidence when it's done correctly, and an absence of it, becomes very clear, and it undermines the referee's authority from a perception standpoint of those watching. As a few examples, the recreation of a particular position can be handled in a multitude of different ways, and if it's not done uniformly, it could again have a serious outcome to a particular match. So, for instance, two competitors go out of bounds in a particular position. Is the referee merely standing them up without scoring them, starting them in a neutral position? Is he dragging them in or making them roll while still connected and then restarting them? Is he separating them, then putting them back in the center of the ring and physically putting their hands and feet in the same location that they were effectively? These are all important skills that nobody's teaching someone how to do, and there becomes an expectation of how it should be done and whether it's being done consistently by that referee, or is it being consistently done through all rings in the tournament. So, speaking from an individual referee perspective, let's say one type of scenario goes out of bounds and the referee stands them up. But then when a similar situation happens at a later match, he recreates the position. This would show an inconsistency, and we don't have necessarily something in the written rules that indicates that that's wrong. So that has to be something that is mandated by the tournament organization itself on how to handle these particular things, or you could get great inconsistencies. I think we see this also play out as a more important piece of submission only, where there is no scoring, and the action is left, to the competitors to decide ultimately by submission. But these situations that involve going out of bounds or other scenarios become very important, because it could impact ultimately the outcome in the position gathered for a particular submission attempt. So these are all things that again, I think a lot of people take for granted as, oh, I can do that. You may be able to do that, but you should have some guidance from the tournament organization on how it should be done at their particular tournament. And again, it's not something even I can consistently say is done across all tournament platforms. For my own personal opinion, I don't like to drag people in bounds. The reason I don't like to do it is, let's say the average weight of a competitor is 160 pounds. If I multiply it by 2, I have to drag 320 pounds across the mat. Maybe on an individual, one-time basis, you'd say, what's the big deal? When you've got to do it all day, it's not something that I'm inclined to want to do. So instead, what I am is very diligent about stopping the competitors, not have them move, make sure I look very closely at where the grips are and where the positions are. Maybe I've even waited to stop them when it became a more easily recreatable position, so that I know when I separate them and I move them and I go to recreate them, I can recreate them in a quality manner. This is not something that somebody taught me. It's something I may have observed and I thought was a good process, but it's also something that has been learned through thousands of matches of experience. And I think a lot of times, referees receive a bad rap because they're tasked with doing this with little or no instruction on the right way or preferred methods. And again, anything that's going to have an impact on the overall experience for those participating, as well as the outcome of determining a winner, it has to be considered critical and something that we really need to focus on if the referee population as a whole is going to be effective.